Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and today we're going to talk about something very different. You see, DLC is a hot topic when it comes to Total War, mostly because it's been kinda, well, let's be honest, it's been kinda slow as of late when it came to Warhammer 2's life cycle. Now, obviously, we're starting to get DLC for Warhammer 3, and it has been confirmed by Creative Assembly that we will see more DLC more often. So I wanted to have a little bit of a conversation regarding DLC types, and hopefully we can see more different types come in to just kind of keep things fresh. So let's not waste any more time and jump right in. So we need to talk about Lord Packs first, because that's a DLC format that pretty much everyone likes. There are a few issues with it though, and we'll get to that in a little bit of a second. But generally, Lord Packs are pretty cool. It's faction versus faction, or race versus race. A new lord for one faction, a new lord for another, and then a few units for both. Obviously a FLC lord, but we're not going to talk about FLCs here. It's more focusing about the pack itself. The big issue with the lord packs is that it's usually very one-sided, and I feel like Creative Assembly could do a little bit better with that. Other than that, the format is fantastic. Giving some new toys to two factions at a time or two races at a time is always really good, and I think it needs to remain the same. The only thing is, I would say, hopefully we do get a bit more variance. I hope they don't go just game 3 factions at the very beginning, which is what happened with Warhammer 2, where it was just game 2 with versus game 2. I hope that they just kinda break the mold, start off with Game 3 versus Game 1, or Game 3 versus Game 2. Hell, I think it would be a really good idea if they even did a Game 1 versus Game 2 DLC every now and then, just to add in more races into the Realm of Chaos map, which obviously does also help the Immortal Empires campaign. But it would help in the Realm of Chaos map for those who don't have all 3 games just yet, have that DLC, and allow for people to try out the races before going, okay, yeah, I really like this race, I'm going to buy Game 1, Game 2, so I then have access to this race, and any DLC that they might need too. It's one of those things which act like a tester, and I think that that would be very beneficial. Race packs, again, should remain the same, because, well, we're kind of expecting that for the Chaos Dwarves, maybe Dogs of War in the future, but it introduces a new race, maybe 4 Legendary Lords, I think that's a healthy number, and pretty much as close to a full roster as possible. Really, there's not much to talk about here, because, well, we all kind of want this, and this is the main thing. A lot of us want more and more races. This is stuff like Koresh, Ind, Nippon, and stuff like that, and it's very possible depending on how long the lifespan for Warhammer 3 is. They have said for many years, and we can pretty much hold them to that, I think. As long as the game remains popular, that's a very important thing here. The next thing, which doesn't really have an official name just yet, I guess, is Culture Packs. That's pretty much what I'm calling it, and it's what I'm calling Champions of Chaos. A DLC which brings in sub-factions to already established races, and this allows for different playstyles. This is what we're getting in Champions of Chaos once again, where we've got 4 unique rosters coming in with 4 Legendary Lords and their own distinct playstyles, their own distinct flavor. This is something that many of us have been wanting for a long, long time now, and I think that this could be done again. Even Creative Assembly have gone on record as saying that if people like this, they will be keen to do it again. My hope is that they do have different scope and scale for what possible DLC this could happen. If we end up getting Amazons, Halflings, Cult of Ulrich, pretty much anything, it doesn't have to be 4 Legendary Lords and 4 rosters. It could be smaller, with 1 or 2 Legendary Lords and a smaller roster, or just a single roster, and that's enough, just to add in a lot of DLC potential, to bring in a lot of flavor to all the different subcultures that there are in the Warhammer Fantasy world. And maybe if it's not as grand as Champion of Chaos, or at least as the Champions of Chaos is looking at the moment, maybe that could make DLC come out a little bit faster. At the end of the day, most of us have been playing this series since it came out. It's been a long time now, and what we want is more replayability, more factions, more fun, more toys. Plus, this would really help out factions like Norska if, you know, it goes to the whole Tribes of the North situation. We can get some Kurgan, we can get some Hung, we can get some Cool, we can get a few different, you know, cultures that we don't really expect proper race packs for. Though with that being said, mini race packs is something that they could do. Now, I'm not saying a culture pack, this would be a proper mini race pack. Rather than adding in 4 Legendary Lords, they go with 1 or 2, and a decently sized roster, which then could then get filled out a little bit if there is need, but generally it would be 20 units or so, done. This is stuff that could potentially be created on behalf of Games Workshop with the whole thing with Old World, which we're kind of expecting. This isn't like Norse Dwarfs, which would be a culture pack. This, I'm saying, would be like Talia, Estalia, Araby, these types of things that would fit with the Dogs of War, yes, but are likely to be their own things in Old World. If you haven't been paying attention to the Old World blogs, I mean, there hasn't really been a lot lately, Games Workshop please, we did get some hints that they have their own dedicated iconography, and it isn't the same for all of them, so this could potentially mean something very, very interesting for the future, as Games Workshop are likely going into the old reserves of old lore that they had planned to use, old miniatures or designs that they had planned, that never got used, and now is the time. This is something that we know is very much possible, especially with how things are going now for Warhammer 30k, or how so many models are being released for Warhammer 40k, and even Age of Sigmar. Age of Sigmar is doing fantastic for that lately. So if Games Workshop are smart, and here's praying that they are, they would use Total War Warhammer as a way to cross-promote. Hey, this faction is coming in Old World, but you can also play them in Total War Warhammer, how cool is that? I mean, you know, perfect world and all that, but we'd have to wait and see. I know Games Workshop would be keen because this is extra money for them, and Creative Assembly would be keen too, considering that, well, extra money. Plus, they've been doing a good job on stuff lately. They'd probably want to milk everything as much as possible, and as a fan, and strictly speaking here as a fan and not a content creator, I want to see them do as much as possible too. Alright, now, and probably lastly, character packs. I know we've spoken about this in the past, but it's something that needs to be said. This not only has the chance of adding in legendary heroes, which Creative Assembly have gone on record and said they want to do more legendary heroes, and I think that's a really good thing because it adds a bit more flavor. Not a lot of characters could be justified as legendary lords. I know I've seen people try and make that argument, but let's be honest, you think Karanak is going to lead an army? I mean, he's a doggo, right? But this could work for Legendary Lords too, introducing Legendary Lords to factions which might be fully complete, and I'm saying even taking Old World into account, because keep in mind, when we do get Old World, a lot of the units that we already have are going to go back there too, because it just makes a lot of sense, and, you know, Games Workshop are a little bit lazy. They don't like to, you know, change things up a little bit. But it's not only that. There are some characters which might not justify being part of a Lord pack. I'm talking about even characters that I want, like Marius Leitdorf, which could easily be FLC, that works, or through character packs if they want to put a little bit more effort into the mechanics more than anything else. And I think this would work out quite well, just to add in characters. There's so many different races in the Warhammer Fantasy world. We've already got a nice big chunk of them, we're expecting more, but there's definitely going to be times where, yeah, the army book is done, or all the supplements have been done, nothing else has come for them in Old World, and yeah, they still want to bring in the character. So imagine a character pack which introduces 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4 legendary lords just split throughout all the different races and factions, so they could do an Imperial Elector count, a Dark Elf, a Chaos Lord of Khorne, and then maybe, I don't know, a Lizardman, anything really, you know, they could just mix and match characters through all 3 games. It doesn't even have to include characters from Game 3, they could just go Game 1, Game 2 races just to kind of fill out the world a bit more, or whatever really. The idea is just add a bit more flavor. These would be characters that have their own dedicated mechanics and would just bring in a new playstyle. Then again, anything could work. The idea is something like this would be a little bit easier than a full-on Lord pack, so maybe this could bring out a way of bringing out DLC a bit quicker, maybe in the interim between Lord packs or race packs and all that type of stuff. Hey, these are just suggestions. Let me know if you guys have any other ideas. The idea is, I'm really hopeful for this series. I think Immortal Empires will do well. I really hope so at the very least. So it would be cool if we had more. I want more DLC. You guys want more DLCs. I'm throwing out some ideas. Hopefully you guys do too. And maybe Creative Assembly are listening.